This is another reading of Mehera-Meher. Um, it's page 69, and we're in the middle of a letter from Nilu to Padri. Go ahead, Mikal
Okay,
Namo.
thank you. So Sarosh and other ladies were in the other car, and he was driving and following Elizabeth's car. He arrived 20 minutes later. He was wonderful and did all single handedly. He collected people, and all injured people were taken to the hospital in Prague and treated superbly. After a study of 14, what is sick? What is
Sick,
this?
sick means that's a mistake
What is
on his part.
okay?
Yeah.
After a stay of 14 sick days in the hospital, we all returned here. Baba was improved much. His face and nose have become all right, and no one will say that he has ever had an accident. His broken leg and arm are in plaster of Paris. They are healing all right. Mehera is getting better. So also Elizabeth and Meru. There is now nothing to worry. It is a miracle that no death has occurred. Baba always talked of his personal disaster, and at last it had occurred. Baba wants you to inform all not to worry. Everything will be all right in the end. So we have a side note. Adi Sr. wrote similarly to Papa Jisawala on 8 June. This trip to America justly proved the truth of Baba's hesitation to come to America and the prediction of a personal disaster. At Yupan Dunes, Mera massaged Baba's feet when she came to see him in his room, and Mani wrote, the swelling on Mera's eyes had not completely subsided. Never mind, don't worry, Baba reassured her. Your eyes will open. They had been at Yupan Dunes for 5 days when, as Mera was looking at Baba, one of her eyes opened fully. The next day, the other one opened, and she felt better now that she could see the world and her beloved more clearly. They were not going out for walks or getting any other exercises. So Margaret massaged Mehera's legs and hands. She continued to massage Baba also. While Mera was gradually improving, Mani was having her own problems dealing with her anguish, so evident in the letter she wrote to those in India. Without having much physical injury, except for a hurt knee, she admitted, I suffered terribly within. Seeing Baba's suffering, seeing Mera's suffering, finding that I hadn't shared in it, I was feeling very down, depressed. One day, Mani was washing the clothes in the basement of Yupan Dunes and suddenly felt very tired. She went into Baba's room, which was air conditioned, so we were always happy to go there. Baba looked at, at her and said, what's the matter with you? Your cheeks are gaunt. What gaunt? What? There are dark circles under your eyes. Don't you sleep? Usually the women never saw the men, but that day Baba told Rano not to summon Don. Don came, no, Baba told Rano to summon Don. Don came in, but did not look at Mani, and she did not look at him. Don looked at Baba, and Mani looked at the floor. Look at her, Baba instructed him. She is all black under the eyes. Her face like this. Baba made a frown. Do something about the bags under her eyes. Give her a nice tonic and some pills to make her strong. Don made no reply. Didn't you hear me? Baba asked. I heard you, Baba, he said. But no amount of pills and tonics will help her. What she needs is rest and change. Baba looked at the others and remarked, he's mad. I've always said so. I said to give her a tonic and pills, and he talks of irrelevant things. like rest and change. You're a barber, not a doctor.
Uh, yeah. In England, they call doctors quacks.
So, Dawn prescribed vitamins and tonic. It did not help Manny at all. On the contrary, it meant more work for her. Baba told her to take the pills at 8:50 a.m., 10 minutes before breakfast, and the tonic 20 minutes after lunch at noon. This was in addition to the other small orders which Manny already was observing every day. It was more meditation on Baba, Mani explained. It's almost 9. I must remember to take my pills. Then Baba asked, It's 12:20. Have you taken your medicine? I would rush to take it. I had to be watching the time always, and Baba too would ask if I had taken it. It resulted in more work. And the asterisk on the side says, another factor that must have affected Baba's decision to go to Duke, that's the hospital, that probably comes next, to Duke, was that Norina had been admitted there for treatment because of Norina's heart condition. Her doctor had advised her, sorry, her doctor had advised that Norina not be informed of the accident, since knowing of how badly Baba, Mera, and Elizabeth were injured would certainly have upset her. So Baba's fractures caused him much pain, and he was tired of remaining in bed all day. New x-rays were taken, and although the leg was set properly, Don wished to have further examinations done for Baba and for Mera also. Baba was considering having them done in New York, but on 13 June, he sent Don to Baltimore to look over a hospital there, probably John Hopkins. Don reported back, but it was decided instead to have the checkups done at Duke University Medical Center in Durham, North Carolina, which was closer. So this is where Norina was. So on Friday afternoon, 20 June, Baba and Mera were taken to Duke in an ambulance. Sorry, Goher rode with them. Don, Meherji, Savosh, Nilu, Mani, and Meru followed by car. Baba stayed at the hospital for 4 days, while the others stayed in the Dutch village in a nearby motel. And it says here in the asterisk, Mera spent the nights at the motel. Baba stayed in room 3023 at Duke Hospital, now used as an office. The Dutch village inn has since been torn down. At first, the hospital refused to allow anyone to stay with Baba. Don requested the administrator to make an exception and allow Nilu, a doctor, to remain overnight. But there was another problem. Racial segregation was prevalent in this part of the United States then, and Nilu's skin was quite dark. To convince the administrator that Nilu was not an American Negro, Sarosh had to drive back to the motel and bring Nilu's Indian passport before the administrator finally agreed to allow Nilu to spend the night in Baba's room. Wow. Baba was examined by 3 doctors, Lennox Baker, an orthopedic surgeon, John P. Adams, a residential in orthopedics, and A. Barrios, the house physician, who wrote on Baba's admission sheet, patient is a spiritual teacher from India and is presently not talking, so the history is obtained from his associates. Since Baba's cast was too loose, a new padded cast was put on his leg, and his left arm was released from where it was being held next to his chest in a sling. On 22nd, on the 22nd, the cast had to be split twice around the knee and plaster reapplied. After Baba complained that it was too tight, Baba also began physiotherapy for tightness in the left shoulder. Patient, very cooperative, written in, how do you call these?
It's like a double dagger, so it refers to the on the
Hi.
left. Yeah.
So the therapist showed Don and Merji what to do, and they helped Baba with the movements thereafter. But this is parenthesis. So it's in parenthesis, and how do you call it? These two uh, clicks
Du-
on,
double dagger.
not the double dagger, inside the
Oh,
parenthesis.
the parentheses.
Yeah,
Yeah, or brackets.
brackets. No, 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 not the brackets, but that the patient very cooperative was written by the doctors, and that's why it's in parentheses and in brackets. So Mara was taken for a checkup and further tests on the 23rd. Mani and Meru accompanied her and Goher to the appointment and visited Baba that day. So it says on the side, other than one other time when they visited Baba in the hospital, Mera, Mani, and Meru remained at the motel. Duke was very large and had lovely grounds with lawns and shady trees. Mera recalled it was a very nice place, but I didn't feel nice. More x-rays were taken. I was asked if my eyes pained. Although both eyes were swollen, she told the doctor, A.M. Shelton Jr., that only the right eye pained when opening it. Mara had to have a brain checkup for any damage. Gora explained her injury had dislocated the SME plate and torn off the olfactory nerves. The sensory nerve in her forehead had deadened, which affected her sense of smell. She couldn't smell anything after the accident, and without the aroma of food, she lost her appetite. I was wondering if there was any subdermal hemorrhaging. If there were, it would cause further damage to the brain. We consulted, and it says on the side, see Appendix A for Dr. Woodhall's report. And so on we go. Mary had to have, well, damage to the brain. We consulted a neurosurgeon there, Barnes Woodhall, and that's what Dr. Woodhall about, who again took an encephalogram graph of the brain. So many tests he did, and they were all found normal. Baba had told Mara to do it, so she went through it all. She didn't give any trouble or resist it. It was the first time she ever had taken injections also, other than vaccination and injections before leaving India to come to America. We had to give her penicillin because of the wound. The doctors who examined her x-rays said that it was a miracle Mara was alive. So on the side, there is, no, go up because there's something about Narina. Can you go up? Can you scroll up?
Yeah, it starts with that double dagger there, right? Or
No, no, no.
you
Go
mean up
further.
higher. Oh, okay, good. You're
Okay.
right.
So Norina's room was far from Baba, and because of Baba's injuries and Norina's poor health, Norina did not see Baba at this time. Okay, so Mera was naturally so reticent around the male doctors that Dr. Woodhall remarked on this when he wrote in his report. General neurological examination was completely normal, except for some withdrawal and perhaps some dulling of consciousness. This is difficult to ascertain. Uh, on the day the women came to Duke for Mara's checkup, they were in the hallway when they had a chance encounter with Norina, who was in, who was in, yeah, a wheelchair. As mentioned, Norina had not been informed of the accident or that Baba and the women were in Durham. A few words were said, and then the women went to see Baba. When they told him that they had met Norina, he sent Goer and Nani to her room to tell Norina more about what had happened, and to assure her that everyone, including himself, was now all right. So it says on the side, the Avatar's stay. No, we read that one. The Avatar's stay at Duke Medical Center, however, would no doubt prove a blessing to the thousands who would later seek treatment there. Duke Medical Center expanded tremendously and became world renowned, and Durham became known as a city of medicine. Wow. It would be the last time that Mera and the other Eastern women ever saw Norina. After Baba's car, After Baba's cast was changed yet again, he was discharged at 2 p.m. on 24th June, and he and the group returned the same day to Yukon Dunes. After the loving, attentive care they had received at the Prey Clinic in Oklahoma, Baba found the large institutional hospital at Duke to be somewhat impersonal. Baba stayed in Myrtle Beach for another 2 weeks, taking the women to visit the center on 2nd July, and Nilo sent this update to Jesawala's on the 27th of June. Baba's arm and leg are healing nicely. His general health is excellent. He sleeps well, eats well, and even though he has suffered a lot and is still suffering, his general recovery on the whole is rapid and satisfactory. Even in his suffering, he remembers everyone whom he has left behind. Mara is now getting much better. She sleeps well, she eats well, she moves about, and at the
Maybe read that sidebar
okay,
before we
after
turn the page.
okay, after dinner on 4th July 1952, Mrs. Houston drove Baba and the women to the Lafayette Hotel, where they sat under a portico and watched the Independence Day fireworks display over the ocean. Yeah. Mara is getting much better. She sleeps well, eats well, moves about, and at the moment, to all intent and purposes, she seems to be perfectly okay. Due to injury to the forehead, there may be possibly in future that Mara might produce some serious after effects, but at the moment, there is absolutely nothing. If you know whereabouts of Eruch, then let him know all this news. Please give Daulat the news about Baba's accident and to Beidou. Baba says that Beidou should not worry about Baba's accident. So I think I'll take a break here and I'll
Ah,
see.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jay Baba, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Mika.
much. That was wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Baba. Thank you, Mira, and thank you, Eugene.
So the sidebar says while Baba was abroad in 1952, Erich and Pendu had been sent on a speaking tour of India and Pakistan to explain what Baba referred to as his upcoming fiery free life.
Thank you.
On 6 July, Adi Sr. wrote to his mother, Gulmai, Baba's hands and legs are improving slowly. As it is a question of bone trouble, it will naturally take time. Still, we carry him on a chair from the house, make him comfortable in a car, and give him a stroll. Mayurji, Nilu, Gustaji, Sarosh, and myself stay near him by turns, day and night. There is an all round improvement in his health, and there is nothing to worry about. After the accident, Mara did not wish to stay in America any longer than necessary. She wanted to return to India as quickly as possible. The medication she was taking made her feel even more depressed. We thought we were going to California for a bit of sightseeing, to see the Grand Canyon and so on, she reflected, but it was not in my destiny. After the accident, we were only thinking of returning home. We weren't thinking of anything else. We didn't care for anything. We just wanted to go home. Although they did not make it to the Grand Canyon, Mara did get to see a horse show in Myrtle Beach on 10 and 11 July. Because of his cast, Baba was always in his room at Yupon Dunes. He never went out, not even into the garden. Mara, too, sat on the terrace, gazing at the sea for hours, waiting for his call. She said, I watched the sea till I was sick of seeing it. Only one day did we go to the beach near the ocean, and after that we never left the house. And the sidebar says, although 10 July was the anniversary of Meher Baba's silence, it was not observed then by either fasting or keeping silence. Since they had been confined indoors for so many days, Baba felt that the women should have an outing. Look in the paper and see if there is any suitable entertainment for Mara, he told Rono one day. She reported that there was a film or a play. Not a film, Baba said. Anything else? Something new? Look again. Then she and Kitty noticed an advertisement advertisement for a horse show. It was a charity event, proceeds from which went towards the construction of a hospital, a project that Elizabeth was actively supporting. Good, Baba said. Mara loves horses. Elizabeth, too, was pleased. By now, Baba's cast had been cut to the knee, so he could move his leg a little. Next to the staircase, close to Baba's room, was a tiny elevator, just big enough for one person, which had been built for Elizabeth's elderly mother. It went 2 levels down to the garage. When it was time to leave, Baba wore his coat, and two of the men montally helped him to the cushioned chair inside the elevator. They pressed the button, and Baba rode down with one person standing behind him, pressed against the wall. In the garage, the Mondali helped Baba into the car. Then the women, who had been waiting in the garage, got in the back seat. Elizabeth could not drive because of her injuries, so a Mrs. Houston, or Houston, a very sweet matron of a local hotel, and Norina and Elizabeth's good friend, lent her car, and Charmian drove them to the event. The horse show held the horse show, held at 8 p.m. at the local high school athletic field, had a small arena where they watched the horses and the harness racing from their car. A girl of 12 who had polio but loved horses was lifted from her wheelchair into a buggy and won the race. The exhibition included magnificent, high-stepping horses with numbers. Which do you think will win? Baba asked. All thought number 19 because it was stepping the highest. They were wrong. It was too high stepping for the judges, apparently, and another horse won. Never before had there been such a horse show in Myrtle Beach, and to some, it seemed fortuitously coincidental, as if it had been especially staged for Mara, which perhaps it was. It helped cheer her up, Meru observed, and provided beneficial exercise for her gradually improving eyesight. We went to the exhibition for 2 days, Mara said. Baba took an interest, so we also took interest. I had seen pictures of high stepping horses in magazines, but this was the first time I had actually seen them. It was Baba's love and concern to take me. On the 12th, Adi Sr. wrote to Gulmai, Baba's leg is still in plaster. We make him stand without giving much strain to the leg. He will not be able to walk till the fracture joins up completely. It will take some time for him to walk, but he is all right otherwise, and his health is rapidly improving. We took Baba and the women to see a horse show in a car. Though he is lame, his jocular mood is the same. There is no difference in that whatsoever. He wants to jump from here to there on one leg. He can't sit still. He gets tired lying in bed. He gets irritated with us, and there are tussles now and then. We feel pity, love, and at times anger looking at his condition. But there is nothing to worry about. Everything will be all right in the course of time, but it will be a solace if he keeps patience, busy as we are kept with the women. Traveling with Mara Baba was never easy, and the accident had made things especially trying for everyone. The presence of the women Mandali added to the men's responsibilities. During the trip in 1952, Adi Sr. admitted, I always wished the women weren't there. It was a source of constant nagging. Everywhere the women were, it was a great headache, whether in India or abroad. With them along, it was extra work and always some problems. Baba would go to the women and come out and say something or the other. We could not openly lay the blame on Baba, as he would say, the women say this, the women say that. So many small things of the household. We have to stay here. We have to do things this way. It was a madhouse sometimes. But Adi realized it was all done by Baba, all his play at the back of it. And next we have a Duke Hospital form with Merwan S. Irani, age 68. Heck, that must be a mistake. He was 58, right? Yeah. And Mrs. E.C. Patterson, Myrtle Beach, And that looks like an 80, but that must be wrong too. Oh no, South Carolina, SC, South Carolina. Birth date for Marwan S. Irani is February 25. Birthplace, India. Mother, Shirmai Irani, it says. Father, Sharian Irani. Referring physician is William Chapman. Nearest relative or friend, E.C. Patterson. Address, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Serv Date of the first visit to the hospital, 6/21/52. Service, ortho. And the discharge date was 6/24/52. Report from X-ray, Duke Hospital, patient's name, uh, incorrectly as Marway Irani, to Dr. Adams, ortho, the Cabell ward. And then films of the left humerus show an impacted fracture of the upper end of the humerus with the fragments in fairly good position. The elbow joint is not involved. Films of the left leg in plaster cast show a spiral fracture of both bones in the lower third, and there is a slight degree of overriding, but the fragments are in good position otherwise. Signed, Dr. Reeves. And here's a physical therapy report, nearly illegible, but I can see patient something up quite effortlessly and did painless, I suppose it says exercises, very cooperative. Massage and illegible. Written instructions for illegible. So those above were the extracts from Baba's Duke Hospital medical records, June 1952. Here's some more hospital records. And these are for Miss Mehera Irani. Report from the X-ray, it says AP and lateral stereos of the skull show a diffuse and what appears to be comminuted fracture throughout the frontal and parietofrontal regions, with fracture lines extending around on both sides and on the left down toward the middle ear. The crack on the right frontal bone seems to extend downward into the lateral portion of the right orbit, and the crack on the left extends down toward the medial wall of the left orbit. There is also a small fracture down through the middle into the region of the cribiform plate. The orbital walls appear smooth. Extending up from the main fracture line Across the frontal bone is a smaller fracture extending upward and backward into the left parietal frontal region. As far as we can determine, there is no evidence of any depression. Signed, Dr. Reeves. So the next report is again for Mehra, illegible, small Indian lady who received a depressed frontal fracture in an automobile accident near Oklahoma City. She has a partially healed triangular laceration of the left frontal area above the left eyebrow. Hmm. So, if y'all can read that, I cannot. Extracts from Mehra's Duke Hospital medical records, June 1952, courtesy of Adim Fenster Authors Collection. Next, we have a poster for Radio City Music Hall. Thousands laughed at the irrepressible Charlie in the sensational musical stage success. Millions will join them as Ray Bolger brings his hilarious humor and wonderful dancing to the screen. World premiere today. So looks like Ray Bolger is in drag. Ray Bolger in Where's Charlie with Aline McGlury and Robert Shackleton. Screenplay by John Monk Jr. Directed by David Butler. Baba took Mehra to see this film in New York on 22 July 1952. New York Times, 26 June 1952. Chapter 114. New York, New York. Before traveling to Europe and back to India, Mehra Baba decided to spend 2 weeks in New York. It was time for a change, and more specialists could be consulted there. Arrangements were accordingly made, and Mrs. Houston or Houston drove Baba to Florence on 14 July 1952, from where he and the men and women Mondali boarded a train for New York. The sidebar says Baba and the women in two Pullman cars ate a packed supper they had brought with them. The Mondali in coach ate in the dining car. Mayerji did night watch. Elizabeth, his hostess in America, and a nurse traveled with them, as did Charmian and Ruano. Since it would have been prohibitively expensive for so many to stay in a hotel in the city, a private residence had been arranged, half an hour away in Scarsdale, belonging to Kate Ferris, an acquaintance of Jean Adriel. And there's a sidebar here saying Nilu was doing night watch, but he and the other Mondali stayed at the nearby Moi, MOI, guest house at 101 Maple Avenue in White Plains. Elizabeth's former cook, Alberta, was hired to prepare their and Baba's meals. Ivy and one or two others met them at the train station in New York and drove them to Scarsdale. The day after they arrived, Baba told Rano, a native New Yorker, to take the women sightseeing into the city. But Rano suggested that Charmian go instead. It would be better, she reasoned. So many changes have taken place in the 15 years I've been away. Charmian has a car and will be able to drive them. Baba agreed. Hmm. It ended up nicer for me, Rano conceded. I got to stay home with Baba. The other women went sightseeing practically every day with Charmian or Energy, in parentheses, Marion Florsheim. Kitty and I weren't allowed to leave Scarsdale. It was fortunate that Kitty and Rano were present one day when they had an unpleasant run in with a male visitor. Although Kate Ferris had agreed to vacate the house for 2 weeks, her husband, who was trying to divorce her, arrived unexpectedly. Kate was supposed to be living at the house. She had warned them to call her if her husband or the if her husband, the police, or his lawyers should show up. She would then come, she said, with a shopping bag and a hat, as if she had just been out shopping. When the husband arrived, Mara and the other women were on the back patio, as they had not gone sightseeing that day. Kitty waltzed the man toward the front of the house, chattering all the while, without him even realizing that he was being backed up to the door. It was left to Rano to deal with him more sternly, telling him to leave. Rano joked, I think Baba took me on trips just because I could be such a dragon sometimes. Another time, a police officer came. They telephoned Kate as instructed, and when she came, shopping bag in tow, the officer said politely, just doing my duty, Mrs. Ferris. I can see that everything's all right. When Kate had been approached about the use of her home, one of the conditions was that none of her neighbors should try to meet Baba or attempt to look over the garden wall. Kate never had to broach the matter with them, as before Baba's arrival, both neighbors suddenly went on vacation. The women could now enjoy sitting outside in the garden in complete privacy. It was a lovely house, Mara recalled. New York City was so hot, just like Bombay. Scarsdale was cooler. Baba came and sat with us in the garden in his wheelchair. The cast had been cut below the knee so he could bend his leg. Scarsdale itself was a lovely garden town. It reminded me of Mahabaleshwar. We saw an apple tree for the first time there. Interesting. One day we went specially to see an old villa and gardens of an American chateau, but that day it was all shut up. We had passed it often and thought we should go and have a tour. We asked Baba's permission and got all dressed up, but we weren't able to go inside. A round of doctor's appointments for Baba and Mehera had been scheduled. Charmian drove Mehera and Goher to the city on 16 July for an appointment. Baba and the other women met them at Ivy's Manhattan apartment that day, where Mehera was impressed with the elegant furnishings. Most of Mehera's appointments concerned her eyes, but a dentist was also consulted about the numbness in her front teeth. The dentist took x-rays, asking her to bite firmly on the film. Another doctor who examined Mehera was a neurologist named J. Lawrence Poole. Sidebar says, Poole later became one of the most renowned neurological surgeons in the world, winning many professional accolades and awards. As a fellow surgeon noted, he helped pioneer the fledgling's discipline of neurological surgery and was credited with much ground-breaking work. I was very worried about Mara's brain, Goher stated, so we consulted other doctors in New York. Mara used to be very quiet in her own thoughts. What concerned me were any after effects later. If there were any blood clot, it would damage the brain, so I wanted to be sure that there wasn't any further damage. I told Baba, and he said to go ahead with the investigations. Mara had no symptoms, no headaches, which Mrs. Burleson had told Mani she would have at the very least. But Mara did get very depressed. She wasn't interested in eating or anything. Baba called her and explained to her, telling her about his condition, that everything would be all right. He said that he would be quite strong and healthy again, that he would be able to walk again. She was worried that Baba wouldn't be able to walk. Naturally, having seen Baba walk so briskly, she felt that he might not be able to walk well. His nose and mouth were damaged. There was a tear in the gums. So Mara did not much enjoy going with Charmian on outings, which Baba wanted. Most of the time, Mara felt depressed. She wasn't happy. I went to the doctor often in the city, Mara related. On the way to one appointment, Mara remembered driving across the Henry Hudson Bridge. For months after the accident, I felt that my front teeth were lifeless. The nerves were damaged. I had no smell of flowers or an omelette. The muscles around my eyes were affected, so I was squinting all the time. The eye doctor took us to a dark room. Goher was with me. He put something in my eye and looked in it. I had to do eye exercises also. The other doctors took x-rays of my head. I got so tired of seeing this doctor and that doctor. Baba agreed to meet his New York lovers, and interviews were scheduled at Ivy's from 18 July. Charmian drove him and the men Mondale into the city from Scarsdale. Many met Baba here for the first time and were deeply affected. Although the women did not attend these darshans, Charmian and Ivy related what transpired. It was so difficult for Baba to hide his divinity, Mani commented. It often came through. We have seen groups, multitudes, receive of his divinity. At those times, it is as if there had been a small rip or tear, and through that you glimpse his divinity. Like in 1952 in New York, after the accident, when he had a cast on one leg, people were weeping when he gave darshan there. Just when Baba's body seemed broken in accidents or to be in a weakened state, that is the time that we have seen more come to him. Though Baba met most of his lovers at Ivy's apartment in the city, he did permit the women to have a few visitors at Scarsdale. Phyllis and Adele came often, and it was here that Mara met Mildred Kyle. One day, when Phyllis and Adele came for lunch, Mara was lightly massaging Baba's arms as he rested on a bed that was slightly raised. The two women brought garlands that they had woven for Baba and Mara. Phyllis held one for Baba of red roses, and Adele one of pink roses for Mara. After Phyllis garlanded Baba, Adele could not resist and put hers on Baba too. Phyllis brought Baba a pair of tennis shoes also, as she had done previously at the center, with a pair of sandals. I was trying to have the opportunity to touch his feet, she confessed. She put one shoe on his foot. Baba took it off and gave the pair to Phyllis, who wore the same size. Baba was having chicken for lunch as he was on a high protein diet, and Adele asked whether she should become a vegetarian. Baba replied that she should not. Ivy invited the Eastern women to her apartment for lunch one day, but Baba did not go with them. Since the car could not park nearby, they had to walk from the car park to her apartment. Ivy had done her best to see that it was a memorable afternoon. In the center of the table was a decoration, a scene of Lord Krishna playing his flute on a cut glass tray. The apartment was hot, and Ivy, concerned for their comfort, was trying to hook up a fan. Never mind, they told her, we're used to the heat. The best part of the afternoon was the menu. Macaroni, chicken, and mushrooms. It was delicious. Up to now, the women had an unfavorable impression about American cuisine. Only here at Ivy's did they have a home-cooked meal they truly enjoyed. Rano kept telling them that if they had been allowed to eat at more expensive restaurants, they would have had better fare. But they were not convinced. When I had a home in New York, Rano said, we would have the same type of food as at Ivy's. Mara did not believe her and was sure that this was something special in their honor. On Sunday, 27 July, the women visited Fred and Ella Winterfeld's apartment for tea. This time Baba came along. Margaret, too, was present. The second time Ella had met Baba at the center, he had asked her whether she would like to meet the women Mandalay. Oh, yes, she replied enthusiastically. I'll never forget meeting Mara first, Ella recalled. She was so sweet, so beautiful. In Scarsdale, Baba had told the Winterfelds he would like to bring the Eastern women to their apartment. For dinner, Baba? Ella asked. Baba shook his head. For lunch? Again, Baba shook his head. He made a capital T with his fingers. For tea. Fred stood guard in the hallway to see that no man intruded or saw the women when they arrived. Baba came up in his wheelchair, but once inside he was helped onto a couch where he could recline. Mara sat in a chair. After they finished drinking tea, the conversation shifted to the Winterfeld's new black and white television set. I would love to see what it's like, Mara said. Ella switched it on. Two baseball games were in progress. New York Giants versus Cincinnati Reds, and Brooklyn Dodgers versus St. Louis Cardinals. They watched for a while and saw one of the players hit a home run, which Monty stood and imitated. It was the first time any of them, including Baba, had seen television, since it had not yet come to India. Although Baba had said that they would only have tea, Ella remembered fruit being around wherever Baba went. So she had prepared a tray of grapes and put it on their large dining room table with a white tablecloth out of Baba's sight. Suddenly Baba said, "Serve the fruit." Ella brought the tray. Baba looked so happy, as if it were just what he wanted. He called Ella and gave her one grape. He held it in his hand. She knelt and held out her palm. Baba put it in her hand, then lovingly twisted her ears. Mani said, I thought of Christ, a scene from the past, the way in which Ella came and received his prasad. It was a delightful afternoon. Here is peace, Baba remarked. I have greatly relaxed. In 700 years, I will come back here. In appreciation of Ella's efforts, someone commented, Baba, Ella is an angel. Baba smiled and gestured. I am happy that my angel has come down with me this time. Mara gave Ella a butterfly brooch made from Baba's hair and nails, and Baba permitted Ella to visit the women in Scarsdale. During their sightseeing trips into the city, the women were taken to various gardens and tourist attractions. Seated in his wheelchair, Baba visited Central Park, the Bronx Zoo, and the Museum of Natural History. Since the women accompanied him to the zoo and museum, Darwin Shaw, who was pushing Baba's wheelchair, had been warned not to look at Mara or the other women. He could look down at their feet, but he must not look at their faces. Eva, are you back and ready to read?
Oh, yeah, Eugene, I've been here listening to you.
Yeah, next time maybe put your video on so we know you're there.
Okay,
Thanks.
you're welcome. Let me see. At the museum, is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
At the museum, they went upstairs by elevator to see the dinosaurs, stuffed animals, and crocodiles. There was a slight drizzle when they went to the Bronx Zoo, which resulted in being less crowded than usual. But they still had to look at everything so quickly that they did not enjoy it. They saw the penguins and orangutan and the small and large monkeys. But we see the many monkeys in India, Mehera explained, so we weren't so interested in them. The penguins were lovely inside a room. Too many people were there, however, so we had to leave. During their visit, they became separated from Margaret and finally met her at the end. Annoyed, Bob asked, "Where were you?" One afternoon, Bob and the women were taken to Radio City Music Hall to see the film Where's Charlie? Bob loved it so much, Mehera remembered. The film was just what Baba would like. He enjoyed it, and we also laughed and laughed. Phyllis was there. The Rockettes did a dance, and then the film started. It was a beautiful theater. Baba's wheelchair was taken in the elevator. Baba stayed for the entire movie, and the sidebar with Where's Charlie, starring Ray Bolger in is a 1952 British film of a Broadway musical. At the time, Radio City Music Hall was the world's largest indoor theater, seating 6,000 persons. Perhaps Baba's sightseeing in a wheelchair foreshadowed later legislation in America and elsewhere requiring access to public facilities for the handicapped. And Celeste Holm was filling in for the show star Gertrude Lawrence, who was on a 6-week summer hiatus. Coincidentally, Baba and the women had seen Celeste Holm in the film All About Eve in Hyderabad the year before. Regarding Hugh Brenner, though, Baba and the women did not see him during Baba's lifetime. In his most famous role in the film version of The King and I, a few years later, they saw him in The Ten Commandments. On July 26th, Charmaine took the women to the St. James Theater to see the Rodgers and Hammerstein Broadway musical, The King and I, starring Hugh Brenner and Celeste Holm. But it was not the sort of thing Mehera enjoyed. It was too Eastern. Mehera would have liked to see something more Western, Kitty maintained, such as the Western plays we had seen together in Simla. One night, they went to the top of the Empire State Building. As they drove up Broadway, they saw in Times Square a huge neon sign of a tea kettle that endlessly poured tea into a cup underneath. Underneath it that never overflowed. Later, Mani thought it allegorical. Baba is like that tea kettle that keeps pouring. See that your cup is always underneath to receive his love. In April, when the group had first arrived in America, Baba had permitted Rano to visit her family in New York. Now that they were in the area, Rano asked whether she could see her family again. It would be nice if I go see them once before I go back to India, she told Baba. Baba agreed. Rana was hoping to be allowed to go for the weekend, but Baba said to go the following day at such and such time and be back the next day by such and such a time. Only 24 hours. Rano's family did not say a word about it, and she obeyed Baba's order and returned to Scarsdale as instructed. And colorful picture of Baba, Mehera, and can you scroll down, please, Eugene, so I can get the names? Holding hands in Myrtle Beach, 1952. Sparky Lukes, Ivy, Mehera, Delia, Charmaine Deuce, Knowles, and that is from Sufism Reoriented.
Sparky's pretty.
Yeah, the one at the very end on the left. Yeah,
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah.
She certainly is. Well, Eugene, I must go now. Sorry.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Eva. Jay Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Perfect timing, actually. Next week, we'll start with chapter 115, Jolly Old England, it's titled.